Hello, compassionate souls. Are we ready for the next program? I'm excited to be sharing with you staying calm in a crisis. I think it's an interesting topic considering what's going on in the world. Welcome. I'm Dr. BarbSXM, and I'm excited to share with you the Staying Calm in a Crisis. It's part of the Compassionate series, the Compassionate Listener series, Class 109, if you're looking at certification. And if you're not, it's still a great class to take. So I want to go through the process tonight, go to the class with you and just talk about the importance of staying calm in a crisis, but also some tools and techniques to do that, because we're all in this together. It's all about making the world a better place. So we are in a place where the place where we become our own powerful self. And I want to make sure that you have every tool you need to do this. So staying calm in a crisis, what do we need to know about that? What kind of tools and techniques are there? So the first thing, I'm a little bit of a earthy, nerdy cruncher, like I'm a hippie kind of girl, but I always jokingly go back to Om, and I bring myself to this place. Or as John Nolan says, he said in a class today, he said, if you don't use your vocal cords at all, and you just breathe in and you make a sound and let it come out naturally, it's the only sound that's made with no work at all in a human. So breathe in. That's a natural sound. You don't move your voice box up or down. There's no formulation of words. It's just sound. How powerful is that? Because that vibration sits through you. And when we're in class, a lot of times oming, I went through a terrible experience a few years ago when Irma hit the island. It was my first experience of any kind of experience like that ever. And I remember sitting on my massage table with my fingers in the air, oming to match the scream of the hurricane. And that's how I kept myself calm. So these techniques do work. So one of the things I'm going to talk about is in the moment when a crisis hits, there's so many things that can happen. But remember, as we teach with everything, we're not thinking about the past. We're not thinking about the future, especially in a crisis. We're staying in the moment. And when we're staying in the moment, it's really important to say, I have this one manager back at a Fortune 50 company, we will say, and she said this statement of, a lack of planning on your part does not constitute an emergency on my part. But maybe it does. So when there's a crisis walking up to you and screaming at you, you need to be able to step back and say, okay, I need attention, or this crisis screaming at you, I need attention, I need it now. We have to stop in the moment, because even if it's not our crisis, if it's somebody else's crisis, we still have to stop back and evaluate what's that like. And we're going to focus more on not family holiday environment. We have another one that deals with, staying calm in the holidays. So, but this one specifically about crisis in general. And so when you're in this and you have the crisis screaming at you, give me attention, how do you evaluate the severity of it? How do you say, is this really urgent, or is it a lack of validity in it? Is it somebody else's crisis? And it really doesn't make any difference in the long run? Like, you have to evaluate that. So this will help us say, okay, while we're evaluating it, what are the tools to keep me calm? So I'm using my brain. I'm not jumping into somebody else's drama, and I'm really evaluating the situation correctly. So you know me, I'm going to say, let's take a deep breath and just stay calm for a second. So we're going to take a couple deep breaths, and we're going to bring the lungs in with that fresh oxygen. And we want to do that because, as we know from the breath classes and the meditation classes, as we breathe in a couple deep times, it's going to calm your body down. It's going to tell your body, it's okay, everything's fine. That's how we talk to our body. So we're going to in with the good, and we're going to release the carbon dioxide and let it out. So think in with the good, out with the bad for just a second. So I'm going to breathe in, everything's great. I'm going to let go of this crisis energy. I'm going to breathe in, great. I'm going to let go of this crisis energy. And you can set your tone that way. So it's going to lower your blood pressure. It's going to reduce your anxiety and your stress. So you'll be able to use your brain more clearly. So it clears the brain momentarily as, you know, as the issue is amplified, we want to keep it calm. So it helps create a better perspective of where we're at. It stretches the muscles and sending oxygen to more of the body parts. It calms the sympathetic nervous system and it slows the heart rate so that we start a crisis by bringing a piece of peace to us. So with the calmer body and a clearer mind, we're controlling a situation. It's a lot more easy, quicker, and more manageable when we're looking at the crisis. And when you're in a more relaxed state, it's easier to see a full picture. Some people will come with their, you know, this is what happened crisis, and you have to be able to evaluate it. So you deserve to be at peace when you're doing this because you make better decisions. And so the staying focused thing, I mean, we have a lot coming at us, right? We have sick kids and we worry about money, you know, being at work on time, the debt that we have, our bills, we're stressed that we don't have enough time to get everything done. Our boss wants us to do overtime, or has expectations on us. Our family needs us, our work needs us. So it's easy to get stressed. So when we stay focused, we stay in that moment, the world, you know, is moving by quickly, but we want to stay where we can stay balanced. So there's lots of things going on at the same time. You have lots of choices and you want to know, you know, what's the best choices to make? What are you going to allow? What do you don't allow? You know, the many things that are grabbing your attention, many people that want you to fix something or get your input for something. And then others that just want the priority. They want you, you know, you need to be that priority for them. They want your attention. So with all that going on, sometimes it can really get chaotic. So just taking a quick survey, though, we want to survey the situation. You know, is there a problem? How quickly does it need to be resolved? Who's in charge? What do we need an outside expert to give input on this at all? Are the details of the crisis appearing to be the truth? Because sometimes when people are drama queens, everything can be an emergency, and we know who some of these people are in our life. So we just need to take into account, like, is this really an emergency? Can it be resolved quickly? Is there somebody already in charge of it and you're just telling me a story that I you know, about this? Or, you know, do we need a plumber? That's a joke here in my house right now. Do we need a plumber? Or is this something that can be done easily? So we need to make sure, is this even really a crisis? Because one person's opinion does not make a crisis sometimes. And then we have the whole thing of how fast does it need to be done? How quickly do we need to be on it? Is it really urgent? I mean, if it's a fire or a natural disaster, yeah, we've got to be there in a really interesting state of mind, looking at the full picture. If it's a car accident, a quick evaluation is needed. Is everybody safe? If it's an urgent healthcare, a heart attack, there's an urgency, a sick child, depending on the type of illness that's going on. If your boss is yelling at you and you're feeling threatened in a conversation, you know, maybe you feel violence coming on, you know, it's a very different urgency of speed. If you're late to pick up your kids from work, it's important, but it's a different level of speed. If you have a looming deadline, you know, is the deadline tomorrow or is it next week? That energy, we need to make sure that we're talking about what speed we need to jump into this urgency of. Because if you jump into the same urgency for something that's not due till next week as you would have for, let's say, seeing a car accident and needing getting somebody to the hospital, if you're using that same level of urgency for those two different things, you're putting your body through undue stress. So, you know, is it a temperamental person that's just stomping their feet that wants something, or is it a rejection of a loved one and you need to find out, hey, what's going on here? All those things have a different level of importance and urgency, and it's important not to overemphasize where it doesn't need to be and undue stress put on it. So it's important to evaluate the situation. So we're going to look at when we're in a state of chaos, when we're in a state of urgency, we build our adrenals really quickly. We have that fight or flight. So sometimes we need to take a step back. We need to calm those emotions down to make better decisions. One of the things that I encourage people to do on a regular basis is to be able to release emotions by understanding fact versus feeling. You know, the facts are important. So we need to understand that. So facts are key pieces of information, details of an issue, a job, or a situation. Facts tell us who, what, when, where, and how of a situation. And just like Dragnet way back when, just the facts, ma'am. We want to look at just the facts, because when we have feelings are personal. Every person can feel different in the same situation, and emotions can change the detail of the facts per the personal preferences. So it can come up with different stories. 3 people see things differently. Emotions influence the description of a situation. Also, if you came into a situation where you'd been, your daughter was telling you, oh, this drama happened, yet the person standing next to her is like, that's not what happened. You can get attached to an emotion before you'd even know it's a truth. So we got to separate the facts from the feelings. Just give me the facts of what happened. Don't give me the energy or the emotion on it, because that influences the decision. We want the facts. And so when you're looking at this, just to me, I love to create outlines. I love the little bulleted step 1, step 2, step 3. So I can have some clarity and my mind's not getting mixed up. So in an outline, what are the time constraints? Let's say you do have a pending deadline that has to be done by tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. We want to know the time constraints on it, because it's very different than if it's 3 days at 8 o'clock. What is the order of importance? So and maybe you need to collect some data. Maybe you need to run some calculations. Maybe you need to make some estimates on what has to be done. So you want to have that in your outline. So it's easier to follow. It's more peaceful. And then the details for the end results. It needs to be turned in, Friday morning at 8 o'clock, and it needs to have these 4 pieces of information on it, and it needs to be signed off by your boss. So you know what order that you could start to put them into, and that gives you a peacefulness. And of course, there's that, while you're working on it, you each time you get a step taken care of, it gets exciting. Like, okay, step 1 is done, step 2 is done. And there's something really very exciting and rewarding about doing those little checkoffs right next to each line. So understanding who's involved with this situation, the who of it, the crisis, the solutions, the implementation, who's in charge of each piece of it, and in the completion. So maybe you have an admin that's going to collect the data for you, and maybe someone in accounting is going to help you create some solutions or some spreadsheets. And then maybe Bob over in another department is going to help you implement the work that you need to have done. So he's got to give input. And then for the completion of it to be to your boss by Friday at 8, maybe all 3 of you need to have a quick meeting just to make sure all the details flow. So making sure that each one of those pieces are put together. And then the who, if there's several who people involved in this decision making, and making sure that they know they're a part of it, what their piece is, and when their piece is due. It's little, but it's big at the same time, right? And it doesn't have to be fancy. Again, just the facts. We don't want to make it bigger than it is. So that's an example. Time restraints. If it's urgent, how can be completed in the least amount of steps? If we can see an increase in a longer time frame, can we do that? Is it allowed to unfold naturally? Okay, so have we had this crisis before? If yes, who handled it successfully? Is that person available? What tools, assets, and people are needed and availability? And what other items do we need to have to make this a full success? Let's say you own a catamaran business and you're getting ready to put your people on the boat, and then one of your engines starts to sputter and you're afraid to take them out and you need to check something. What's the least amount of steps you can do to take care of that? Can you still take them out? And if it's going to take a few minutes to fix it, what's the time frame? Is it going to stop you from doing that tour with your clients that day? And can it just naturally unfold? If I play on this engine long enough, is it going to be fine? Maybe it's something I've worked with, it's temperamental before, I know it'll be fine. So we need to decide, okay, if somebody is going to handle this crisis, who would it be? A mechanic. Where is the mechanic? So we just look at all the different time constraints. How quickly can that mechanic be here? Do we have the tools and assets to take care of it? So as I can look through those things, because we've gone through that crisis before in my business. And all those time constraints are really important, because if you have a tour at 8:30 and you have another tour at 12:30, are you going to have to cancel both those tours? Can you cancel one? Can you make one a little late and another one leave a little early? Like, what kind of constraints can you make that still perform completely? So that's one thing to look at. I think this little girl is just adorable. And she's sitting there and she's saying, why am I doing this? Why is this a problem? I don't understand. So the order of your importance, when you're trying to stay calm in a crisis, you need to understand, is it even a crisis? So is this crisis really a crisis, or is this something that somebody else is demanding? Is this something else that they feel is a priority? And Bob walks by and says, oh, we need to have that mess cleaned up right now. There's clients coming, blah, blah, blah. And Bob panics when it's not even an office that the clients are going to come to. Is it important, but not a crisis? Maybe, it would be nice if we can get this done, but it's not going to stop business from being completed. And does it even have to be a priority in life or the office? Sometimes people make things up. I've had manager before, like, oh, the supply closet has to be cleaned and it has to be inventoried. And then after a while, you find out that none of that was really necessary. It didn't change life at all. It didn't change work at all. So is it really a priority in my life or in the office, or somebody just doing it to make sure that they've got control and they have a task, they want to have something done? So it's interesting how the dynamics work sometimes. This is at home. Is this a topic I even care about? I have someone coming to visit me. Do I even care about the fact that my laundry's not done that day? Is it of importance? Maybe not. My daughter's coming to visit. Do I need to have sheets on the bed? Yeah. So maybe I'll do some laundry for that. But is it important? You might not even care about it. And if it doesn't happen, if I don't get this done, is it even going to make a difference? So sometimes I'm nerding out and I go into my refrigerator and I take all of my leftovers and make sure all my leftovers are on one shelf, because I want to be able to see my leftovers at any one point. And I'll like nerd out and I'll do like all my cheeses are in one place and the eggs and the dairy, and I'll make it like a little mini store in there. Does it really matter? No. But maybe at that time it feels really important to me. So it doesn't make a difference. But you get to decide that. Is it a priority? Are you making stuff up, or is it important? Most crises, there are important ones, but there are a lot that are not. If you never take care of it, will it make a difference? It's an important thing to understand. If it doesn't, if it doesn't make the real difference, it will. So yeah. So anyway, let me go back to that. I'm trying to talk too fast. So if it doesn't make a real difference, will it even enhance my life or those people around me? Do I really need to make sure I stop right now and sweep the floor? Do I need to really make sure that I go to the grocery store and get all these things? These are little examples of life, or maybe, my daughter's landing at the airport. Their plane came in an hour early. Is it a crisis? No, it's important, but it's not a crisis, and we can make it work. Nobody's going to be hurt in this situation. Or maybe when I had an experience recently, my Jeep, if I'm at an angle and the gas hasn't passed a quarter of a tank, my Jeep thinks it has no gas. So recently I was trying to go from one meeting to another meeting. I'm dropping somebody off, and as I dropped them off, my car died and it wouldn't start again because the Jeep thinks it's not got any gas in it. And I'm supposed to be at another meeting, and I'm calling the insurance company. They're sending somebody over with gas, and I'm sitting there thinking, oh my God, I got to be in the next meeting. And I thought about it for a minute and I said, well, is it important? Yes. Is it a crisis? No. I can explain when I get there, why I was late, and, it's not going to change the outcome of the meeting. So I was able to, rather than panic in that moment, just sit there and smile about it and say, well, now I have an extra few minutes to sit and listen to music, and everything was fine. The only crisis in that situation was my mind when I went into panic mode. And then I breathed it out and said, no, I actually have extra 10 minutes. So, is it a non-issue? We really need to address that, right? So details of knowing your success. What do I need to complete it? What time, talent, or treasure meaning money? Do I need to learn something I do not know already? How can I put my own spin on it? And how will I know when it's done? Now, I'm guilty of not celebrating my successes. I don't, I don't make a big deal every time I'm successful. I just go, that's nice, and I move on. But sometimes we need to know when we're successful in a project, that we've completed it, and everything's ready to go. So if you're planning a wedding, you need to know what are all the things that I need to be done in order to know that that wedding's going to come off, and how, I want it to be successful. Or, what tools do you need? What things do you need? Time, talent, and treasure. If maybe you're taking your dad to a doctor's appointment against his will, maybe he doesn't want to go. He says there's nothing wrong with him, but he really needs to go. What do you need to be successful when you're doing that? It's very different. Or starting a new business. I mean, we can't just say, I want that building. I'm going to do this project. I've got $100 to start. Like, starting a new business, it takes a lot to know you're going to have everything you need to have and have success when you open a new business. Cooking dinner for the kids when you have a splitting headache, not always easy. Do you let the kids participate? Do you say, hey, maybe instead of cooking dinner, we need to order out? Or, do you say, hey guys, let's do leftovers? Or worst case scenario, like I did times when I was, my kids were younger. Hey, we're having breakfast for dinner. Let's have cereal. Because I am a true believer in that. If you've got a splitting headache or you're in pain, that's not a time to be putting food on the table for your family, because it should be done with love and high vibration. So, is there a way we can get another success out of it, using what we already have, and taking into account that mommy doesn't feel well or daddy doesn't feel well? Or maybe, success of finishing a report that was due last week. How do you get those pieces done and turned in? Preparing, or it may be a car breakdown and no transportation. So how do you make sure you still have the success you need? Do you barter a car? Do you rent a car? Do you renegotiate your appointments? Do you have your people come to you instead of going to them? How can you still make it a success? You're needing money for a house repair, not enough time to study for a test. How do you find a way to put these things in a different perspective so you'll still be successful? One of my favorites, unwanted visitors coming to visit you when you're in the middle of something else, and it's going to keep you from getting your flow done. How do you know, I'm really in the middle of something, and, if you guys want to come in and visit for an hour, that's great. But, I hate to be rude to kick you out, but I've got to get this thing done. So how do you find those words to make sure you're so successful in respecting what you need to get done and not offend somebody who thinks they're going to surprise you? Holiday stress, conversation between a woke and someone awake, that's a lot of stress. And so sometimes we have to put those categories out there ahead of time. What are we going to talk about, not talk about, find our topics ahead of time, because we want it to be successful with our family. Spending time with the ex for the kids' sake. How do I mature up? How do I not take things personal? How do I live the 4 agreements and be in the situation for my kids' sake? And just wanting a break from life. Like, what would you need to take a day off, or a week off? What do I need to get that break in me so I can feel fully energized again to get out there and deal with life? So you need to know, whatever the topic is, what are the time, talent, and treasures you need to put together to make sure that's a successful project, and that when you get done, everything you needed to do is put together and ready. So this is planning stages. Understanding the answering plays. Okay, so when I'm looking at a project, not that I want to be alone on everything, but if you're doing a project, you want to know who the players are and who's going to do what part. So right now we have, it's right before Easter, and we have an Easter egg hunt for a couple local organizations, foster care. So the organization of this is awesome. You've got one group of people that are organizing eggs and what to put in the eggs and baskets. You have another person is organizing the foods and the drinks and the ice and the coolers. You have another person's organizing the logistics of where it's going to be, the tables, the chairs. You've got another person organizing the volunteers to make sure the kids have activities and face painting. So there's different people that organize different things. And you want to know also, when you have players going on, who the people are, the key people are that can contribute to what you're doing. if you do have a crisis, you want to understand different things about it. So who are the players when you're looking at this, and how will you know when it's completed? So the players can be anywhere from grandma, boss, siblings, coworkers, your bestie. I love that word. Spouse, neighbor, landlord, government, church, company, your teachers. So understanding who are all these participants playing in this organizational crisis and who's got what. And then appreciating the completion. One of the things I know about being able to complete something successfully is that when you finish this success of it and you appreciate all of the players that were involved, then you set yourself up for a feeling of success for the next time around. And I think that this is something that, especially when you're having events when there's multiple people coming from multiple directions, they're not all like in one company, but you're all putting time in from other places. So when you've accomplished your goals, celebrate. It's funny because one of the things somebody said, okay, after the Easter egg hunt, where's the party? Where do we celebrate that we just took care of 30 little kids and Easter egg hunt? So we celebrate, right? Each time we celebrate an achievement, we create a repertoire of success, and we train our brain to understand that we can handle more and we can do this. So if you'd put somebody who had never done this Easter egg hunt out there to do it, they might find a panic in it. They might be stressed out. But I got to tell you, this group is amazing. I'm going to do this. Can you do that? But I mean, these meetings are like 15 minutes and we've already got everything organized and we're back out the door again. Because once you do it and you get the hang of it, and you feel success, you've succeeded. It's so much easier to handle as your brain says, oh yeah, you got this. So retraining the brain for success also is important. So we practice the feeling of success. We want our body to feel what it feels like to have the success. And we want to use that feeling over and over again. So as soon as I heard that we're going to have an Easter egg hunt, I was like, bring it on. This is great. Because these are people not necessarily that did the Easter egg hunt before, but they understand the organization of it, how to work as a team. There's just this beautiful give and take. So practice, practice, practice. And I don't know, I didn't even call it a crisis. Somebody else might have been panicked about it, but we are handling it well. So when you create an outline in your head or on paper, if this happens again, then what will we do differently? So let's say we didn't have the organization that we do. What can we do differently when this comes up again? Who, what, where, when, why, and how? What are the warning signs of another situation if we do something similar? What are any future red flags to look for? So let's say we did our event and then we had some issues with the little kids, or maybe, we've got a captured audience here. We got walls, they can't run away. But what happens if there is an issue with a child getting hurt or something happening or children fighting? So we know next time, what will we do differently? Because we keep track of anything that didn't go smoothly just as much as we keep track of everything that did go smoothly. So pre-planning is success planning. And sometimes that pre-planning has to do with what did we do last time it was successful? Let's use that in our pre-planning, and we can lay our new plan right on top of the old one. And if you had anything that didn't work well last time, now that can be part of the pre-planning for the next program. So the overview, simple, simple, simple. Be in the moment, breathe, stay focused, survey your situation. Definitely survey your situation with your own eyes in the moment. Create an outline of what you think will help you get through it. Delegate where acceptable and appropriate. Completely outline, and then celebrate the success. I know I'm all about the celebration of the success when it comes to like groups. And so remember that you got this. There's going to be a lot of chaos maybe on the outside, but when you stay your organized little self in the middle and you're doing your thing, that outside stuff doesn't influence you. I know most of the people I hang out with, we kind of gotten used to like, I will hear your opinion and I appreciate that you have an opinion, but your opinion is not going to create chaos in my life. And once you practice that, it gets easier and easier. And, I always say, you got this, you got this. Everything's a learning experience. And so remember, vibration is key, and repetition amplifies success. So when you're feeling, you're feeling empowered, you're making good decisions, you're good at figuring things out in the crisis, then you look at it and you say, is this really a crisis? Is it really, or is it important to organize? Or are you looking at organizational issues? Are you looking at someone's personal preference? I had a manager the way back when, that would come in and they would be a walking ball of chaos. They would come in and say, oh, it's, the rule is we need to do X, Y, and Z. Or, you need to do X, Y, and Z because it's a rule. And we'd find out later it wasn't a rule. They made it up as they walked around and didn't like the way things were running. So you kind of sit back and say, is this chaos from somebody, or is this an organizational guideline? Is this really a crisis we need to look at? Because sometimes it's ego, or people who like to be controlling. So maybe it's not even a crisis, or the drama. There's a lot of drama. Maybe it's somebody else's drama that's just looking for attention. So, have you been through this before? And if yes, did you learn from the last experience? So the next time the person comes to the apartment and they're barking about changing something because that's what they want changed, we would look and go, okay, sure, we'll look at that. But there would be no chaos. There would be no drama. We wouldn't get excited about it. We would just go, okay. So you learn from the experience that you've had in the past, especially when it's somebody with a personality issue. Can you keep the vibration positive and learn from it? And that's really important, no matter what we're doing. And do you show up in this crisis? Do you stay calm? Do you stay cool? Do you stay organized? Or do you join the chaos that's going on? Because when we stay within ourselves, we stay in that white light, we stay in that energy, we stay peaceful, we stay calm, everything's easier. Everything's easier. So fact versus feeling, what's the factual stuff going on versus the drama or chaos put on top of it. Staying organized by maybe creating an outline of 1, 2, 3, 4, how to get this done, putting time frames on it, who's in charge of what. And then when we're going through the process, anything that's not smooth, again, making notes so we learn from it for the future, and not being overly dramatic about it. Just say, okay, and the next time we'll try it this way, or we'll try it this way. And then when you get to the end and you have your success, enjoy the success, celebrate the success. And anything that didn't go smoothly, just jot it down. So next time you get ready to do the project again, or go through any kind of crisis like that again, you can go back to that crisis results information you had and put that into your pre-planning the next time. So the repertoire, the energy that you start rotating, everything gets easier and easier. There's very little that creates a crisis for me. And it would have to be an urgency of health or a natural disaster. Because to me, if once I breathe in and I let the organization piece of it step in, I don't step into the chaos. And the thing is, I'm nobody special. This is a gift we all have once we've practiced it. So I hope this helped a little bit about, help you a little bit with staying calm in a crisis. I look forward to sharing more information with you. As you know, all the programs that I'm trying to bring are related to metaphysics, energy psychology, energy medicine, the science of spirituality. And that Soul Solutions is about finding a passion. It's about expanding your consciousness and advancing your enlightenment. And as I say to everybody, this is your life, it's your energy, and you're not a victim. And I want to make sure that as we go through these processes and we begin to expand these pieces for the series, that we all understand we're in this together. We all want to be successful. We all want to support each other. And that's what I do. I do it through the energy of breathing in that white light, God's love, and trying to make the best of everything. So I'm Dr. Barb Tremlett, Soul Solutions. You can find on YouTube, my website. I just want to be able to give gifts to the world to help everybody open up and remember who they are. I'm not teaching you so much as I'm assisting you in your awakening. So I thank you for everything. Namaste. Look forward to having more programs with you and learning more about how I can serve the world and you. Thank you very much and have a beautiful day.